Welcome everyone, I hope all is well. I'm doing well myself. I've got a couple of Dogman encounters to share with you. First, I'd like to thank Faye for her generous donation to my channel. Thank you very much. I want to thank you guys for listening, and I'm also trying to get my subscriber count up, so if you're listening and haven't subscribed, please do so. My PayPal and merch links are in the description, and with that, let's get on with the Dogman encounters. Our first encounter. According to eyewitnesses, a creature fitting the description of the Dogman appeared in Grand Haven from 1993 to 1994. Ben, who was a young teenager at the time, saw the creature not once but 3 times, and believes each time he was seeing another individual in what could have been a pack taking refuge in the Hoffma Nature Preserve. In 1993, after dark, Ben was hiking the trails in Hoffma with as many as 4 friends. Just passing the float bridge near the center of the preserve, he heard a sound to his right. He spied what resembled to be a dog appear from behind a tree on the ridge above. I thought it was just a dog walking, and then it stood up on its hind legs, he recalled, mostly in a silhouette, behind him and the moon no more than 70 feet away. Ben realized, due to the size, over 7 feet tall and human-like outline, it was not just a dog. Encounter 2 is 2 encounters in one. I was taking my dogs to go to the bathroom at 3 a.m. and I decided to go out with them so they didn't run away. I was out in my front yard when I heard a growl from the side of my house. I quickly looked over and there was a rustle in the bushes. I saw the tail and a leg and it was gone. I was very scared. At the time I was 13 years old. I took my dogs in and went to bed, although I did not get much sleep that night. Their next encounter. In my backyard, if you go straight over a hill, you're at my friend's house. If you go left, you're into the forest. I was over at my friend's house and didn't realize what time it was. It was 11:38 and I said I have to go home. As I left, my friend and I were joking about wolves eating me because both of our houses are covered by forests. And we laughed for a few seconds and I headed over the hill. As I got to the top, there was a deep growl from the forest, and I looked over and saw some eyes about 7 feet in the air. It was too dark to see the Dogman's body, so I ran off very scared. He was chasing me and I could hear him behind me. I got to the front door and glanced behind me and the Dogman was gone. I heard a long howl. I don't know if the Dogman howls, so it may have been just a wolf, but the eyes were 7 feet in the air. And I went inside with a hell of a lot of memories inside of my head that shouldn't have been. Encounter 3. The way this story all fell together for me is just way too weird for this story to be untrue. About 3 years ago, my cousin Mike and I were dropping off his girlfriend and her friend after seeing a movie. It was about 11 o'clock and we were going down this long gravel road that stemmed off another backcountry road. The long gravel road was about 2 miles long and led directly to his girlfriend's house, which was basically a driveway. After dropping them off and heading back up her driveway, we saw something off the side of the road, about 100 yards away. At first, we just figured it was some sort of animal, so we flashed the brights on and off to scare it away. Once we got closer, maybe 20 yards away, we realized this wasn't anything we had seen before. Whatever it was stood up, its back was massive and hunched over, and its legs were very skinny. When it looked at us, its eyes glowed in the headlights. Scared to death, I just looked down. I didn't want to look at this thing again. I was way too terrified. My cousin and I both started panicking. Do we turn the headlights off? What if we lose sight of it? Do we just turn the car off and let the thing walk away? What if there's another one and we can't start the car and get away fast enough? Do we hit it and keep driving? What if we don't kill it and it sits on the hood and tries to get into the car? As we both sat there in terror, I continued to watch it out of the top of my eyes. There was no way that I was going to look directly at this thing. Or, if there's another one, I don't want to see either. All I could really see was the skinny like dog legs and its massive upper body. It stood there for a second and then just walked off into the woods on 2 legs. Up until a while ago, when I told people about it, I told them the only thing I remember was the way the eyes shined back, its large, hunched-over back, and the skinny dog-like legs. When my cousin and I were talking about it, we just tried to conclude that maybe it was a deformed bear or something. We had never heard of the Michigan Dogman before. The part where this story gets weird is when I was talking to my friend back home just a few weeks ago. We were trying to get together a ghost hunting trip for when I came home on leave from San Diego with the Marines. I was online searching for Michigan hauntings and Michigan paranormal activity, and I came across a story titled Michigan Dogman. The police reports and witnesses' accounts, the drawings, everything matched perfectly. It was crazy to me that other people had seen what I had seen that night. It had to have been 3 years since then, and it was just insane that I'm now finding a perfect match and a perfect explanation. Encounter 4. This incident occurred in July 2008, approximately 1:30 a.m. The neighbor's dog started barking and running back and forth along the side of our houses. After 15 minutes, I became weary from the noise outside and got out of bed to take a look at what was causing the commotion. It was a clear, warm night without any cloud cover. I don't remember seeing the moon. I slid open the sliding door from my bedroom to the backyard patio pool area and turned left towards my neighbor's house, which is about 15 to 20 feet from my bedroom door. There's a concrete enclosure next to my bedroom that houses the air conditioner and pool machinery. As I stepped out of my bedroom and took a couple of steps, I was greeted by a guttural growl coming from the other side of the enclosure that I couldn't see. It was frightening and froze me in my tracks. I was scared. I had never heard anything like that except in Hollywood werewolf movies. It was definitely saying, make another move or else you'll get ripped apart and you will die. At least that's what it felt like. I was born and raised in Detroit and lived on the near west side on 12th Street in Brigham. We had rough, tough guys in those days, and a white boy living in a black neighborhood is something like daily combat. I didn't scare easy, but I was terrified that night. I didn't see anything the next morning, such as tracks on the pavement. It was not feline, nor was it a bear, both of which can be found where we live. Also, it was not a coyote, which I have seen many in my early AM out hunting as close as 10 feet away, carrying small prey in their mouth. I used to take my wife for medical treatment 3 times a week at 3 a.m. for 8 years, so I had many encounters with these animals, and I repeat, a coyote it was not. I know I could have taken 10 or 15 steps and found out what the mystery was. However, Mama didn't raise no fool, and I didn't have a Colt 45 with 6 silver in the chamber and 6 silver in the speed loader, so I let it slide. There was one reported incident in the 1980s in Valencia, which is next to Castic, where my family was living. A couple of teenage boys were camping out one night, and they were scared by what they reported to the police as a dogman-like creature that stood upright and ran on 2 feet, which was covered with dark, shaggy hair. That's my story. It's nothing but the truth. I was born in Detroit and lived there until 1966, when I moved to California. And I never heard anything about the Dogman. My cousin attended Ferris State in Big Rapids and never mentioned the Dogman legend to me. In addition, I went to summer camp in Port Huron one year when I was in high school. Michigan is a perfect place for the Dogman creature to live. Plenty of green and fresh water with moderate population as opposed to California, where fresh water would definitely be a major problem for survival. The fifth encounter. My grandparents own a farm in Luther, Michigan, with a large patch of pines behind their home. One evening, maybe 1997, my dad and I went for a walk in those woods. My dad wanted to, I didn't, so much due to the hour and the woods already being dark. As we entered the woods, my dad tried to scare me by making a howling noise. Coincidentally enough, we had just heard the legend song a few days prior. I hit him and told him that wasn't funny. He chuckled, saying there's no such thing, it was just a story. I grumbled, saying even stories have a bit of truth to them. We walked on into the woods, eventually losing the little bit of daylight that remained outside in the woods. We heard a screaming howl come from the back of my grandpa's property, maybe a quarter mile away. I again told my dad that wasn't funny. He said it wasn't him. It happened again, only this time it was closer. Whatever made the sound, and it was the same sound, just louder, was moving fast. We didn't hear anything that sounded like movement in the tree or underbrush, but it was certain something was out there. We continued our merry little walk through the woods, much to my dismay, but we didn't hear another thing in the woods, though the entire time I felt like I was being watched by something that didn't want me there. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed these brief encounters. I've got a couple of really good encounters coming from the Carolinas again, and I will be hopefully putting those out tomorrow night. With that, have a good night, guys. Thanks for everything.